what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2011 Scion TC. Up front is a 2.5 liter inline 4 and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this here Scion TC because the Scion brand has since gone away. As of February of 2016, they closed their doors with eventually reabsorbing back into Toyota that following August. So you don't see Scions being made anymore, and it's always fun to get behind the wheel of something that is no longer available. But before we get on with the rest of the video, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can check out stickers and merch, as well as submit your own vehicle to be reviewed. And you can check out my blog where I give behind the scenes looks at what I'm filming and what you can expect coming to the channel before anyone else. But let's get back to that 2.5 liter under the hood, making 180 horsepower and 174 foot-pounds of torque. Well, it's nothing too crazy. What it's from is a Toyota Camry, and that's a good thing. The Toyota Camry is a really reliable car. And as you'll come to learn, most of this stuff is Toyota Camry parts, like the transmission we'll talk about in a second. I like the feeling of the 2.5 liter. I think it's decently peppy. 180 horsepower to the front wheels is a pretty good power band. I don't really have much to complain about. And for a car like this, it's good. Like I said, paired to it, 6-speed automatic, or you could get it with a 6-speed manual, and that automatic is shared again with the Toyota Camry, with the RAV4, and a bunch of other Toyota products, so it's pretty bread and butter, nothing really too crazy. Last but not least, like I mentioned earlier, the Scion TC is front-wheel drive. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 main gauge areas, if you want to call it that. On the left is my tachometer, in the center is my fuel, and on the right is my speedometer, and I do get a little digital odometer down in the center, which I quite like. Moving on to the steering wheel, a signature of Scions. It is an asymmetrical steering wheel with volume, skip track, and mode on the left, and absolutely nothing on the right. I think almost every Scion I've ever reviewed has this type of asymmetry, and it's just funny to see it over and over again. To the left of me, I have my mirror adjustments, and on the door I have a little speaker, of course, lock and unlock, and my power windows. Moving into the center, I have 2 climate control vents. I have a digital clock as well as my airbag on and off, lights like that, and my hazard switch. And then I do have an aftermarket radio. This is not the OEM radio. However, Scions actually did get Pioneer radios from the factory. That was another one of their sort of cornerstones, was the fact that they actually got nice stereos from the factory. However, this is not the factory radio. Down below that, I have my climate control knobs. Again, the same complaint with these I have in the FRS that I just filmed. The fan speed knob feels so solid. Feels really, really good. But the temperature and where to send it knobs don't. They don't have that same sort of clickiness to it, and I wish that it did. Then I do get a 12-volt outlet, and then we move down to the shifter. Like I said, it is an automatic shifter, and it's very, very typical of Toyota of this era. I call these the jigsaw shifters because you kind of have to wiggle them side to side in order to get them into gear. Moving down below that, I do have my handbrake as well as some cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Scion TC, the 2nd gen TC, and unfortunately it does fail the big friggin' bottle test. To be expected out of a little car like this, but still sad to see. Then we do get a center console, nothing really too interesting in there, and then we get the seats. The seats are nice and comfortable. They are cloth. Scion has always had very basic seats because they were a more entry-level car, but I think that they're nice and cozy, especially here on this 15-degree day. I'm not complaining at all. However, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, you guys know how much I hate getting into the back of coupes, but gotta do it for the video. I gotta close this door as I get in, because it is chilly today. All right, so we're in the back of the 2011 Scion TC. Couple things to note back here. My knee's a little squished, but the driver could be nice and scoot up. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with these back seats. Definitely 1,000% more usable than the Scion FRS. So if you want a Scion product, but you might have the slight need to ever drive anyone around anywhere, well, more than one person that is, get the Scion TC. Headroom is not great. However, I can kind of slouch down and make it manageable. Once I do that, it's decent back here. Something I do want to talk about, something that's very quirky to Scions, is the sunroofs. Now, first of all, I do have a sunroof up here. That's nice, and you can open that. However, of course, for structural rigidity, there's this bar here. But then the sunroof continues, and you get a tiny little, maybe 10-inch sunroof back here. So I could just leave this open and have that one closed. It's very, very strange. You don't often see a continuation of a sunroof being this small on a car. Very, very weird and a very Scion quirk. But finishing off the back seat, I do have speakers in the walls here. I do have cup holders back here, which is nice, but nothing too crazy. We'll hop around back and take a look at the trunk, and then we'll talk about the looks. So around the back of the Scion TC, and I always forget the fact that it is a hatchback. When I went to go pull the trunk up, I'm like, wow, this is a heavy trunk. Yeah, it's a hatchback. So that's a really nice feature. Tons of storage space. Obviously, you can put down that second row of seats, and you'll have plenty of space back here. We got the Scion badge. Love that. Really, really cool that it is a hatchback. I think this opens up a lot of possibilities, and the train is being loud. Shut up, train. You guys know I hate trains. But at the end of the day, great storage space in the back of the TC. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I love this color of the TC. I think it's my favorite color for the TC. I think it looks really cool. It's like a slate, and I really like the styling of the TC. This particular TC lasted from 2011 to 2014, where it actually got a facelift to then match up with the Scion FRS to get a little bit more aggressive, but that's still the second gen. It just got a facelift a little bit later on. But overall, I really like the aggressiveness of this TC. I think the first gen was a little too blobby, a little too early 2000s for my particular taste, but you know, that's okay. With all of that being said, let's get to my final thoughts here on the Scion TC, and I want to talk about Scion as a brand. As you can see, I'm repping my Auto Show Scion sweatbands. I've been waiting for a long time to show these off in a video. But funny enough, actually 11 years ago to the day of filming, today is February 12th, 11 years ago to the day, I was at the 2011 Chicago Auto Show and captured this footage on my flip video camera before I even had a YouTube channel of the Scion booth, which I think is super interesting and funny how the world works sometimes. But as I mentioned at the top of the video, Scion is no longer a brand. It came onto the scene in the early 2000s, and by 2016, it was already gone. Well, Scion was a sub-brand of Toyota, and at the time, Toyota's median age of their purchasers was 54 years old, a rather older age. That's their average age of who bought Toyotas. So in an effort to skew younger and get a younger audience, they created this Scion brand, something that was fun and something that was hip. When they introduced Scion and started selling cars, their buyers had a median age of 39, which was significantly younger than Toyota's primary customer base. And specifically, Scion TC owners had a median age of 29 years old, which was the lowest median age in the car industry for people buying their vehicles. Along with that, more statistics with Scion is that 70% of Scion owners at the time were brand new to the Toyota name. They hadn't owned a Toyota before. The Scion was their entry to the Toyota family. And so nearly overnight, Toyota added nearly 70% of Scion's buyers to their family. And a little bit more statistics, if we want to talk about the TC overall, the first generation Scion TC accounted for 40% of all Scions sold. This was their cash cow. Well, the first gen was. The second gen, this generation, not so much. It sold well at the beginning of its run, but then the FRS pretty much took over. Anyone at the age of 29 would much rather have the sportier two-door coupe, the FRS. And so TC sales started to plummet in favor of the FRS. And in 2016, Toyota figured that Scion had done its job. It had gotten the kids interested in Toyota. It had brought down their median age significantly. And like I said, on February 3rd, 2016, Scion announced that they would be closing their doors and reabsorbing back into the main Toyota brand. This wasn't hard to do, by the way, because Scion didn't have its own dealers. They were always sold out of regular Toyota dealers. And to this day, if you go to Scion.com, it redirects you to Toyota, tells you that the Scion name is still living on to this day, or the Scion spirit, I believe they word it as. And they show 3 vehicles, of which only one is still in production. The Yaris is no longer available here in the States, and the 8.6 has been given a new generation, and the new generation was never a part of Scion. The only one that still remains is the Corolla hatch, and technically, I learned this recently, that the Toyota CHR was originally supposed to be badged as a Scion, which now makes me understand the CHR way more. It looks like a Scion. It has weird door handles. It's kind of odd. And that's what I liked about Scion. They're a little different, a little weird. They have all of those reliable parts, like the Camry 2.5 liter, like the Camry's transmission. It shares wheel and tire sizes with the Camry. It shares brakes with the Camry. For all intended purposes, this is a coupe Camry, but it still retained some special features, like that weird sunroof I mentioned with the back seat. It's very strange. I don't know if I've seen something like that. It looks different. The Scion badge carries a type of feeling with it. And I'm sad to see that a lot of Scions lived on, but the TC didn't. And I think that that's a shame. I think of all the Scions that deserved to make it out alive, I think the TC was one of them, and unfortunately it never got that day. I really like this little car. If you're looking to get into cars, modifying cars, just having a unique daily driver that isn't your parents' Toyota Camry, look into an older TC. They sold supercharger kits for them. They have a very healthy aftermarket for getting parts, and yet they won't leave you stranded. They won't leave you scratching your head, and Toyota dealers still know how to work on them, even though they haven't been out in almost 6 years. I miss Scion more and more every day. Every day. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to David for letting me take out their Scion TC. I'm so glad I was finally able to get behind the wheel of a second gen. I've driven the first gen, now I've driven the second gen, and I've sort of completed those generations. If anyone has a supercharged one, please let me know. I would love to start filling in the special editions of the TCs. But that was all. Thank you to David. Very much appreciated. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.